Hi everyone, I am so excited for today's video because I have with me the new Sonia G Jumbo Bronzer Brush. Look at that, isn't it so pretty? And yes, it is quite a big brush. I can't believe it that I have a brush of this size with me at the moment. But before I continue talking about the Jumbo Bronzer Brush, I would like to give a huge thank you to Sonia G and Beautylish for sending this baby over. I am so grateful and I can't believe it that I actually have it. And of course, I know this has been released back in September 13th, if I remember correctly, and this is currently sold out at this time. But for sure, this will come back because I think we've seen in some of Sonia G's posts that this will be restocked soon. And I hope that in the video that I am making today for us, it can serve like as a good insight into the Jumbo Bronzer Brush. So yes, so I am so excited to be talking about this magnificent brush. It's a very big brush. And as I've said in my Niji Pro review vlog, which I posted last week, I don't really have big brushes in my collection. And I do love to add bronzer into the skin, and I usually use my powder brushes when I'm doing that. And to have this specifically, just looking at it now and seeing it for the first time, it's quite a good brush to use as a bronzer application. And I think we can also use this in other ways, and that's also one thing about having brushes. You can use it in any way that you want to. And for this video, I'm actually shooting in the evening because I got this afternoon, and I'm just so excited that I can't wait to make a video for this. And I was actually very lucky that the sun actually came out this afternoon because I was able to shoot some b-rolls for the Jumbo Bronzer under natural light because it looks stunning under natural sunlight. So that's what I'm going to be inserting in this part of the video so that we can appreciate it together. So this is the Jumbo Bronzer Brush from Sonia G. Look how beautiful it glimmers under natural sunlight. Isn't it so pretty? And here at the back we can see the name Jumbo Bronzer and of course the Japan stamp. It's still here. And if we look at the handle of this brush, it actually belongs to the Sky series, wherein we have this blue pop of color here in the middle of the handle that fades into a black, and it also tapers into a much more finer point as it nears the base. Now this is the brush head. It is made of very soft dyed Chikuhodo hair, and it's actually pinched here in this part of the ferrule. So this is what gives it paddle-like brush head design. But what's so amazing with this is that the brush head doesn't actually form into a round shape, but it splays more instead of it being more rounded. Now here on the side we can see how plush the brush head is, and if you look at the top we can see that the brush head has this very oval kind of a shape. So I'm here, as you guys can see, I'm just running my fingers to the brush head, and we can see that it has a very nice snap back into its original position, and we can also see how airy the brush head is. Now in terms of strength, now this brush head is actually very soft. It has like some density to it, but it's still very soft. Like as you guys can see when I tap it into my palms here, we can see that the bristles at the very top splay out in a much more wider sense. So that's my initial thoughts for the Jumbo Bronzer Brush from Sonia G. Isn't that so pretty? Now, the Jumbo Bronzer Brush from Sonia G came with a sleeve, and the other interesting thing about the Jumbo Bronzer Brush is that this is the outer plastic packaging that it came with, so it doesn't have the Kumano Fude seal here. So at least we now know that the Jumbo Bronzer is not made in Kumano, Hiroshima, Japan, but for sure it's made somewhere there, maybe in the same area where the Niji Pro is made. Both are made of Chikuhodo hairs, very soft. They feel almost the same in terms of how smooth it is, like here as I feel it on my fingertips. But we won't know. But who knows, maybe in the future Sonia will tell us where the Niji Pro was made and where the Jumbo Bronzer was actually made. So that's actually very, very interesting, especially for us food lovers. Again, like, even if this is not made in Kumano, it's a nice variety to add into your collection if you are a brush collector, because again, it gives you variety and it gives you, like, some insight on how brushes can be different when it's made in different parts of Japan. So, but anywho, so that's one trivia that I realized when I got, well, like, when I unboxed this. That's one of the things that I first noticed as soon as I got this out of its packaging. Now, about the brush head, as I said earlier, it's like a paddle brush, but it's a different kind of like a brush head design, because usually if you have like, paddle shaped brush, it's usually like, flat and round. Like, for example, it's like this, it's rounded here at the top. But with the Jumbo Bronzer brush, it actually splays out, it almost fans out a little bit, like it's a fan brush. And this brush head design actually reminds me of the Mama Hinoki. I love calling this the Mama Hinoki, but it's the brush number 1 from the Hinoki set, wherein, like, the bloom of the brush head widens as it reaches the top, which is very different from the Niji Pro, because the Niji Pro blooms out some more, but then again, because it's also, like, crimped here, and the ferrule design is also very different, so it fans out more. Now, in terms of other comparison, as soon as I saw this brush, it actually reminded me of the brush head design of the Jumbo Worker from the Mini Kiyaki set. Look at that. So I say, if you just, like, put it here side by side, if you look at it from the top, especially in this position, they're almost the same, right? They almost bloom in the same manner here at the sides, here at the top. If we look at here at the side, again, we can see this plushness and this very rounded brush head design. And if we look from the top portion, again, we have this, like, very nice oval kind of a brush head design. So when I saw this brush, and I was reminded of the Jumbo Worker from the Mini Kiyaki set, it to me, it's like, oh, it's a nice, like, worker type of a brush, wherein you can actually, like, apply color and blend it out at the same time. Now, the brush head design here is also very intriguing to me, because if we look at it from the top view again, there's a density of this brush here in the middle, and it blooms wider here in the middle of the brush, especially here as it goes towards the side, which is also very interesting to me, because I do not see that happen here on the, let's say, the Jumbo Worker from the Mini Kiyaki set. And I also do not see that here from the Mama Hinoki brush. And I also do not see that happen here with the Niji Pro, as you guys can see. So it's kind of like an egg-shaped design. It's still oval, but it's more egg-shaped, wherein there's more width in the middle of the brush head here. So again, which is again very interesting for me, because there's like a round brush in the middle of the brush, if you know what I mean. So there's like a round brush here, and then there's just like some extra like, brushes here on the side that kind of acts like maybe as a way to actually buff out color. So I don't know if that's how this brush is going to work, but we'll try it out anyway later. So I'm actually quite happy that I have the Jumbo Bronzer with me, because I now have a specific brush that I would use to apply bronzer, because before, what I would do is that I would just get, like, any of my powder brushes, like example my Chikuhodo B206 or my Chikuhodo F01 brush. So as you guys can see, they have very big and fluffy and airy brush heads, right? So this is the one that I would actually use to apply bronzer all over the face because I like how, airy it is, and I also like how soft they are, so they don't really pick up a ton of color. So that's actually the reasons why I love using powder brushes. And I don't really use like my powder brushes to apply powder because, as I've stated in previous videos before, I actually prefer to use smaller brushes to apply powders in specific areas of the face, because you don't really need powder all over the face most of the time. So yes, the Jumbo Base has a very big brush head, as you guys can see here. So it's like even able to cover my entire eye socket in one. So it's actually quite a big brush. So this is actually able to apply color or powder in a very big real estate on the face. And again, it's actually very, very soft. And as you guys can see here, how much the brush head splays on the face. Look at that. Look how soft it is, and look how much area it covers if you just want to apply color in one go. This is a very interesting brush. And again, I love the brush head here. You see this very nice density here. It's very soft, so at least this will allow you to apply a targeted amount of color here, but also apply it in a much more softer way on the face. So again, look how beautiful this brush actually dances on the face. Oh, it feels so luxurious. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some foundation first, and then put some powder down, and then let's put the Jumbo Bronzer into the test. Alright, so I have some foundation down and some powders, so let's try the Jumbo Bronzer. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try using the Jumbo Bronzer for finishing powders, most especially my Guerlain Meteorites, to see if the brush head would fit on it, because I really do think that the brush here will be perfect for finishing powders. And as you guys can see here, it does fit perfectly, and the brush head is actually able to break down some of the pearls and pick up some of the product on the brush head, which is actually amazing, because after all, this is made of Chikuhodo goat hair. So it's very, very soft, but at least we know that it's dyed hair, so it has some strength in it, which actually enables us to pick up hard to pick up products. Okay, so it's actually able to apply a very nice even amount of finishing powder on the face. It's amazing actually, and it doesn't disturb any of the product that you have applied before applying the finishing powder. And it's actually very easy to apply the powder and to blend it out at the same time. So if, again, if you're someone who's who doesn't have much time when you're doing makeup, this brush can really help you to do that. I'm starting to like the size of this brush head, because there's some brushes wherein if it's very, very small, it's very dense, it's very compact, if you pick up a ton of finishing powders, it's going to apply a very thick layer of finishing powder on the skin. And when that happens, you lose the natural texture of your skin, not unless if that's the look that you're going for, but then again, you also have a very imbalanced application of color on the face. But with the Jumbo Bronzer, you're actually able to apply a very nice even amount of coloring onto the face. And as you guys can see, you can already see that I have this little bit of dewiness on my skin already, which is actually amazing and very, very nice. So I'm actually glad that the brush head of the Jumbo Bronzer actually fits into the pan of a Guerlain Meteorites. So let's play around some more, okay? Okay, so I have my old Guerlain Pearl Desatine meteorite here. So as you guys can see, I don't, can you see it? Like, you can see like the dust coming out of the tin here. And let's see if this brush can apply like, a hint of color into the cheeks and how easy it will be. Ooh, look at that. I was just tapping the brush head into my cheeks and instantly it's actually applying, the Pearl de Satin is a very nice finishing powder, but I use it more as a blush because of its very nice like colors that we see here in the beads. And this brush actually does apply a very nice diffused amount of blush color into the cheek. So at least we know that we can also use this for blushes, especially for those like, highly pigmented blushes. This is very great. And as you guys can see here, I'm just like, tapping the brush head into my cheeks. And that motion is actually like, um, the brush head plays out evenly in a very nice circular motion. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me try to see if I can show you guys. So that alone already encompasses my entire cheek. And what this brush did is that it actually already blended out the edges of the color. So that's really nice and amazing. As you guys can see, we have this very nice diffused color on my cheeks already, but we can see that there's actually also a nice, like, very soft density of color in this part of my cheek where the brush head actually first laid on. Isn't that amazing? Is that great? Okay, so I'm just going to remove some of the color here on a microfiber towel. Okay, and what I have here is my Guerlain Meteorites in Golden Land. And this is the one that's like, a very nice bronzer slash highlighter kind of color that we have. And let's see if this will apply color nicely on the cheeks. So I'm just going to layer it. So this meteorite is actually warmer, so it's it's a bronzer of sorts, but it also has a very nice warmth red tone to it, which I use to enhance blushes. So look at that. Instantly, it's a very nice diffused application of color, very, very well blended. And also, the brush actually has the ability of actually hugging your cheekbone and applying the color there. And I actually love applying blushes on my cheeks this way because my apples are very, very round and it just adds a much more nicer angular structure into my face without actually using contouring because I don't really like contouring much. Okay, so let's apply some of that here. Again, very diffused. And I'm actually able to apply color instantly in a very short amount of period of time. Look at that. Look at the difference from this side of my face to this side of my face. We have some nice diffused color here. And the jumbo bronzer actually just helps me to apply like, very thin layers on the skin and build as necessary. So this is how the jumbo bronzer applies finishing powders on my skin. Okay, so now let's try the jumbo bronzer with an actual bronzer, and this is NARS Laguna. I love using this bronzer because I love the tone of it. It's more neutral than the other bronzer that they have, the one that's called Casino. That's more warm in my opinion. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have some bronzer now on the brush tips. It can really pick up a very even amount, and let me just angle the brush here right on top of my cheekbone, and I'm just going to tap it because that's usually how I apply a bronzer. And that tapping motion alone, I was actually able to apply a very nice diffused amount of color into the cheeks. Now, I really do recommend doing this tapping motion, especially if you have some texture, because at least when you tap, you're just pressing the brush and the bronzer product into your cheeks, because in a sweeping motion, you also have a tendency of like, removing the product that you place on your blemish. So if it's a concealer, if it's foundation, any time of sweeping motion can really disturb those types of products because after all, you have texture in your skin already. So using this in a tapping motion, especially with this brush, can just really help you to apply a very nice diffuse amount of coloring on the cheeks. Oh, look at that. And it's actually also applying in a very bronzer kind of a way. I love it. I love it already. And again, it's very, very effortless. And I just love the way, like, when you press it and then it sprays instantly. So at least like, you're just pressing it, it's already blending out the product, and you're spending less time in actually applying product on your face. Okay, so let's apply some of that here on my forehead on this side. Okay, that was extremely fast. And here on my jawline, even if I don't need it, here on my neck. Now in comparison, I have here the Niji Pro. So although if I have some color here, let's just tap the brush head into the bronzer and let's apply it in the same manner. Ooh, so as you guys can see, well, I can see here anyway that the Niji Pro actually applies a much more stronger amount of coloration on the skin, and it actually it can really also be a nice brush to use if you want to contour with bronzer, because it just really it doesn't splay much, although we can see some of the bristles here at the very edge of the brush head splay out and blend out the product. But because of the density of the bristles of the Niji Pro here in the middle, you have a really strong application of color coming from that part of the brush. So for a much more targeted bronzer kind of application, again, the Niji Pro is a good brush to use. But if you're someone who just wants to have a very nice, soft, bronzer application all over the face, not necessarily in a contouring kind of a manner, this brush is actually great to use for that. Because sometimes if you use let's say a powder brush like this, or a powder brush like this, sometimes when you apply it in a specific area, you can actually see a spot there, and then you'd actually have to spend time to blend it out. But with the jumbo bronzer brush from Sonia G, I don't see a spot at all, and it actually blended out seamlessly earlier. So I'm very happy that I have this. Thank you again, Sonia. Thank you again, Beautylish. Alright, so out of curiosity, I have here my ambient lighting palette. This is the number 3 palette, and this is intended for much more deeper skin tones. And let's try to use maybe one powder of sorts. So as you guys can see here, the pans here are very, very small, and if I position the bronzer, the jumbo bronzer here, it will actually encompass 2 pans on this palette. So if you're someone who likes to mix colors this way and you like to do it fast, then at least having the jumbo bronzer can work for you. But as for me, I actually prefer if I don't, so I'm going to be much more careful with the color that I pick up. So maybe with this color, I'm going to use the edge of the brush here, and it's actually able to pick up a ton of color. So let me just remove some of that, and I'm just going to position the brush in the way that I'd apply highlighter. Okay, so I'm just sweeping it in a downward motion so that that color will actually blend into the bronzer, and it's actually able to apply a very nice even amount of color, which is actually quite amazing. And this actually has a lot of micro glitters on it, so at least this brush head actually it doesn't pick up a ton of the micro glitters, especially if you're someone who's don't like that kind of a look. So which is actually great, because at least we can see that the jumbo bronzer can also apply a very nice diffuse amount of highlighter on the skin. Alright, so before I close down this vlog, here are my final thoughts for the jumbo bronzer. So it is only now that I have this in my possession that I realized it's actually something that I needed. And it works very well with my makeup sentiments, and it works fairly well into the collection that I have here with me, my brushes that I have in my collection. It fills in a gap, because as I said earlier, I use powder brushes for bronzers, and now that I have this, I don't think I'm going to be using powder brushes anymore, because this does the job better. Now, do I think that you need this brush? I can't really say because I don't know how you put on your makeup. So just take a look, observe the products that you have in your collection. If you have one, if you are someone who actually likes to apply a very nice, bronzer application on your skin, then go and get this. And then if you have a lot of bronzers in your collection, especially those that are hard pressed, those that have big gelée formulas, those that have very big packaging, because I don't really have those types of bronzer packagings with me because I just find that I couldn't fit them into my makeup kit when I go to work. But for example, if you have like this Maybelline City Bronzer, it's quite a big pan, and for sure this will really fit well into the pan, and you're actually able to use the entire surface of the brush head to apply bronzer all over your skin. So at least again, that it saves you time with your application and also with your blending, because if you're in a rush, this will do the job for you in a short amount of period of time. And I'm so glad that I tried this out with you today, because I really thought that the brush head of the jumbo bronzer is way too big for the tin of the Guerlain meteorites, and I have a ton of Guerlain meteorites that I use for work. So I'm just so glad that I'm also able to use this for that. So at least in me saying those things, it gives you an idea on why this is actually a perfect fit for me. So again, assess your makeup products, assess the way that you do your makeup, and try to see if the jumbo bronzer will actually fit into your makeup sentiments. All right, so that's it for me today. I hope that you guys enjoyed me showing you guys how I intend to use the jumbo bronzer brush from Sonia G. And if you have any more questions about the jumbo bronzer or all of the products that I showed you today, please let me know down in the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. Anywho, so I'm gonna let you go now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye!